Ask them to come and join me down here. So Mikkel, the inspirational founder of Under One Sky, Franc, director of the film, and then our current companion, Chris Robinson, who features in the film. He's tamed the wild hairdo a bit since those days. And Curtis. So Curtis was not involved in the film, but until relatively recently he was an Emmaus companion. And he's now one of our hosts tonight. He works with the team here at Rothamsted Enterprises. He's doing an apprenticeship. For the fan club, very impressive. And he's doing his apprenticeship here and nearly finished. So fantastic to have another link between Emmaus and Rothamsted. I've got one or two questions to kick off if need be, but are there burning questions from the audience that anybody would like to ask? Please just give us a wave and we can, no? Hesitation briefly. In which case, I will start, and we can start with you. The film is a fabulous kind of illustration of the power of volunteering to achieve the seemingly impossible. How conscious were you of the building momentum as events unfolded? And where has that taken Under One Sky to today?
I mean, when we started, the backstory of Under One Sky is that we've been doing it since 2012. But literally just going out 3 or 4 times a winter. So it was just a project. I mean, we were not an organization whatsoever. But as mentioned in the film, what basically happened was a few of us just said, okay, let's go and see what's going on in the streets. And one of the observations was that everything, all support had disappeared. And the other observation was that 50% of the people we met on the streets had become homeless that week. And that was just shocking to us. And so it was one of those cases where you're saying, we have no idea how we're going to do this, but we're going to do it. And then we're going to go in. And then as you saw in the film, when the Guardian article came out, all hell broke loose in a positive way. Like in 2 days, suddenly we had 600 people turning up to volunteer. And then, you know, we could start having a bit more circulation in the volunteering base because people were literally working, 20 hours a day. It was madness. And then from then on, it's just sort of carried on, and we've kept on growing. So from a volunteering perspective, we've had 2,500 people come through the doors in the last 4 years since COVID, and I'm a huge believer in community power, and I think one of the most powerful things I've seen through this is just when you have people re-engaged with real life, that actually becomes so much more interesting than sitting at home watching Netflix. So it's really working both ways, and I think for me personally, I don't think we can't be part of society without, in some ways, being an active player in the society we want to have. So that's kind of what we're operating in every day.
Fantastic, thank you. And obviously, you guys are at the sharp end in the outreach stuff, and hopefully that leads, as it did in Chris's case, to something else and to Emmaus. Chris, tell us a bit about your journey, and I guess particularly from my point of view, interested to see how you started off as a beneficiary of the work of Under One Sky, then became very active as a volunteer yourself, participating in that, and then made the move to Emmaus. How important for you was it to be able to kind of give back during that journey?
When I first got to know Under One Sky, and Jodie's put me up in a hostel for a month, and I started going out in the evenings with them for a few weeks. And then Jodie said, do you want to come down from Emmaus? So I said, well, what's that? I asked him what he was, he told me. And I haven't looked back since, really. I was lucky to get involved with One Under Sky, and I was lucky to get down to Emmaus. Because up to then, I didn't see a future. I was on the streets, I was getting food, very little toilets around and that. And first thing I did when I got into the hostel was had a nice warm shower. I didn't sleep for a couple of days, but once I got bottom bunk, I just went to bed and slept for about 24 hours. But it hadn't been for these guys, and Emmaus, I'm not 100% sure where I'll be nowadays.
And you talk in the film about wanting to end up somewhere where you could be secure and happy. Was Emmaus ticking those boxes for you?
That gives me a purpose to get up in the mornings. We've got our companions there with friends. We have discussions and that. And yeah, I'm very happy now. But Emmaus is there for me. The support from you and Gemma and the rest of the team. But yeah, if I've got a problem, I can go and talk to somebody. And I'm quite happy at the moment.
Good to hear. Great stuff. Thank you. Frank, congratulations on a really powerful piece of filmmaking. What was your objective in terms of making the film, and where are you at? How's it going?
It's going really well, and thank you. I think one of the key things about making the film was about nights like this. You know, like, kind of made the film for all you people, and for the people that are up here on stage, made it for yourselves, for two wonderful charities. Under One Sky, I think, have hit 1 million positive interactions with people on the streets. This film just helps them to grow and to continue. The work of Emmaus is so positive. When you heard Sean in the film talking about he wants a purpose in his life, Emmaus is supplying that purpose, or as one of the ways of supplying that purpose. And then we have Chris and Curtis who are the beneficiaries of your work. So yeah, and then with all the audience, you know, interaction, keeping the issue out there, talking, keeping the issue alive, and I can't be more happy than sitting in front of you all here today. Thank you so much for everyone for coming, and yeah, long may your communication and the work that you do continue.
Thank you very much. Curtis, let's come to you. Talk to us about your journey, I guess, out of Emmaus. And I'm going to have to be calling you chef soon, aren't I?
Almost. Yeah, so I was with Emmaus since 2018, October 2018. I was just bouncing around with lots of hostels. I was made homeless when I was 19 through complications with family. Yeah, I was bouncing around hostels for about, 7-8 years prior Emmaus. Yeah, I was just so glad that Emmaus found, well, I found Emmaus, and stuck with you guys for 4 years. Well, you got stuck with me for 4 years. But yeah, there was an opportunity for me to move on through a very lucrative lunch hosted by Emmaus. And my new CEO, Mikkel, was there, and she provided me with an opportunity to move on. So I'm here now.
I have to say, huge credit to Curtis for the way he grabbed that opportunity. I hope you won't mind me saying, he was, for a time at Emmaus, fond of a late night gaming session. Not always, therefore, at his sharpest during the day, to see him transformed into the capable operator that he is in the kitchen, for him to have made such great progress since coming here has been fantastic to see. And Curtis, how much of that as well is down to the team here at Rothamsted and then giving you, kind of, particularly for that initial work experience, a user-friendly environment, a welcoming environment for you here? How big a part has that played in that transition?
Oh, it's played a huge part. Thanks to everyone at Rothamsted for giving me a chance for this opportunity. Thank you for my teacher / boss, Jess, for again giving me the opportunity to go under his wing, to become his trainee chef. And thanks to you guys for giving me the opportunity to go along to that lunch.
When somebody takes an opportunity like that, it's an absolute pleasure. And Chris, you've done a few of these now, haven't you? This is not your first panel. You're becoming quite a celebrity promoting the film. Did you ever, in your wildest dreams, imagine you'd end up doing this kind of thing and talking to audiences like this?
When we did the first interview with Elizabeth, Healy and Franc on the camera, didn't think that this would ever happen, to be honest. It was a long process. Once Franc got it edited and everything else, and then we went up to London to see the first showing. I wasn't in it a great deal, but then suddenly, when we went up to London to see the second showing, I'm there. And I just said to him, "You re-edited it?" And he went, "No, I haven't, but yes, you did." But yeah, thank you for all you lot to come tonight to watch it. When Duncan said about having a showing, you know, it went quiet for a while, and then suddenly it's happening. But thank you for all coming.
Any questions from the audience at all? Yes.
Shall I shout it out?
But if you don't mind, there might be a mic, so I'm going to shout it out. There is a mic on the way, but why don't we shout in the meantime? It's nearly there.
Right, okay, I'll just shout it out.
It's just there, it's literally just there.
Thank you very much.
There you go.
Hi, I'm Anthony Rhodes, I'm Mayor of the City and District of Snowdon. I mean, thank you for a deeply moving and affecting film. My question is one based, I suppose, fundamentally on apprehension. There may have been others present, but I attended the AGM of the Hearts Welcomes Refugees group a week ago, and an extraordinary work is being done by people across South Hertfordshire, in fact, across the whole of Hertfordshire, to support refugees and asylum seekers. I mean, there is a possibility, possibly a likelihood, that there will be far more people who are refugee and asylum seekers who have not got a home. There's 1,500 in hotels at the moment in Hertfordshire. And I'm just wondering, in terms of your own experience, which was focused, as seen from the film, very largely on London, what do you think, are we going to be better prepared to support those people who may find themselves homeless? And maybe also just to you, Duncan, are you yet seeing any evidence of those people coming forward wanting a home? Thank you.
Would you comment first on the preparedness generally of the homelessness ecosystem?
So your question about are we going to be better prepared, I think, I think what's key is that organizations connect, because as you say, there's loads of organizations within the field, sort of the refugee field, that is doing great work. And so it's really up for organizations like us who are on the front line to make sure that we build those networks and we can pick up the phone and get into contact with the right people. We had a particular case probably about 18 months ago when Manston, the refugee camp, was being emptied out bit by bit, where our team actually found 11 refugees who'd been dumped by Victoria Station in flip-flops and no coats in mid-October. And it was such a stroke of luck, because one of the guys on our team, he has worked a lot with refugees and runs a project in Greece. So he had good connections, and he managed to contact the person who spoke Arabic, so that person could understand what their situation was, and through that managed to get to the Home Office, and they then said, "That's been a mistake." They came and picked them up at 2 a.m. That morning in taxis. So, the worst case scenario, these people would have walked into London, and basically we would have found them a few days later on the street. So I don't know if we're better prepared. It's completely different sort of can of worms to open, right? Because it's appalling what's going on in my view, clearly. But I think it's up for organizations like us to make sure that we have the right contacts. And that was actually one of the beauties of what happened during COVID. A lot of the doors that are normally closed suddenly all flipped open. And for that reason, you were able to move much quicker and have much bigger impact, because everyone realized it was an emergency situation and life was at stake. So I'll pass it over to you now.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, we are seeing some impact from it. We've certainly been engaged in lots of discussions with a range of organisations, from the Housing Team, representatives from the Cathedral, and others, about the possibility of us theoretically hosting people. We extended the sweat provision that we host so that it was potentially available for people leaving hotels. I have to say, we haven't had many people actually coming to the community yet, but I think that might be still to come. And I think people live in one or two other Emmaus communities around the country. I think it's something that we are seeing across the country at Emmaus communities, is people being fast-tracked out of hotel accommodation, being given the right to remain but no accommodation, and therefore effectively being made straight homeless. So yeah, it's definitely a potential issue. Might be another question backward. Yeah. Microphone will explain, and then we'll come to you if that's all right.
Thank you. Will Gibbs, based at St Albans Cathedral. Thank you for such an amazing film and inspiring story of incredible volunteering, people power in the pandemic. And many of us saw some incredible acts of kindness. People buying, shopping for neighbours, picking up medicines, standing on the doorstep to clap for the NHS. And I guess I, like many people, hoped that the pandemic would be an opportunity for something of a recalibration, a reset of society and priorities. And yet, disappointingly, post-pandemic, we seem to have seen quite an entitled, selfish attitude from some in society, which has been really disappointing, despite some amazing work that continues to go on. Charities talking about sort of struggling to find new volunteers, recruiting and building sort of capacity and so on. I wondered if we've missed that opportunity, or might it yet still come, and what might we need to do to build a more just society in this an election year?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I think from my point of view that there's a bit of, I think, the imperative perhaps has declined slightly post-pandemic, but the goodwill is still there. There are still lots of people out there who you can connect them with the right cause and show them how they can help, are willing to help and volunteer, and we've certainly seen our volunteer numbers at Emmaus grow, and we've got some of our, like I said, we've got a few of our volunteers in the audience this evening, and they make a huge contribution for us. So I think it's going to be a tough job, and a new political environment might have an impact on that, but I think there's an element of, we just all need to keep persevering and keep talking as well. Mikkel talked about the need to collaborate across the homelessness system and keep talking, and that's another really important part of this now. We harness that goodwill effectively. Franc, do you want to grab on?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on with your observations. There has been a decline in help or response since the pandemic. Numbers have gone up on the streets. Things are not good. We have this Criminal Justice Act going before Parliament that serves to criminalise people who are on the streets and fine them and potentially put them in jail. So there is a lot of work to do, for sure. And there, until we do something about this, then the work will continue. But we have a room full of people here who now potentially might, in their own lives, do something about it. And do something about it in their own lives. One of the things is engagement with people on the streets, and we encourage everyone who's here to don't look the other way, to say hello to people on the streets, and to start that engagement process. And there's only so many things you can do, but I think as an individual, that's what you can do. And you can go to our website. There's a lot of things that we point to on our website. You can support these two charities that we have here today, or other charities in your communities. There's lots of things that you can do, that as an individual you can do, and that are worth doing.
Just wanted to pick up on your bit about how we missed the opportunity. Is there still hope? I think it's worth remembering that COVID was a hugely traumatic time for everyone. Right after COVID, we then end up in a cost of living crisis. And we know what happens when we get under pressure. We sort of look inwards and try to, protect the home base first. So I think we need to give people some credit in terms of people just, I think a lot of people are struggling. It's hard to help others, like we say, you can't look after others if you don't look after yourself. I think what you saw during COVID with all those great examples that you mentioned is a brilliant sort of role model of action that we should take inspiration from. And I think it's going to come back. I think society has changed. I think one of the best things that happened with COVID was probably people having to spend a lot of time on their own, and that leads people to start thinking about what's my purpose here. And maybe it just takes a little while for that planting of that seed before we start seeing some sprouting. I'm always optimistic, but I actually think that this is an amazing opportunity, and COVID showed us something positive. So just wanted to add that.
Yes, thank you. Well, first of all, well done. It's absolutely wonderful how films can teach us so much more than hours of talking and conferences and whatever. But it's thrown up lots of questions as well. It might be for Chris, I'm not sure, but I was really interested to hear that various people were saying that the time wasn't right for them to do something, and it clearly was the time was right for you to come to Emmaus, and it's been a great success. The people you met on the streets, do you think many of them are in the right place to come to something like this? Is that something we should really be encouraging and looking for other avenues of this sort of wonderful marriage that you found here?
Yes, most of the people I knew on the streets, when we talked about Emmaus and that, and where it was coming down to, they didn't want to get all the benefits. They didn't want to come into a community. A lot of them were elderly, they'd been on the streets for a lot of years, and they just didn't want to come in. They liked it on the streets. I don't know why, but they did. I've been into London a few times now, and I couldn't find anybody that I knew. Because of the council, Westminster Council, that moved them on, cleared the tents out, and basically things got back to normal. People running around the streets in mini skirts and everything else, and enjoying themselves. They didn't really care about the homeless. They walked past them, they just ignored them. Where before, the streets of London were ruled by the homeless. If you saw anyone on the streets, they were homeless. Sometimes they just want to chat. When we used to go out in the evenings to the one sky, sometimes we different volunteers would just sit down and have a chat with somebody for 10 minutes, and they said thank you. But I don't know, to be honest.
Curtis, do you have a view? Where do you think you were it was the right time and the right place to come to Emmaus?
Yeah, it was the right place, right time for me. Because just like I said before, bouncing around homeless charities, hostels, just you feel really, you don't feel welcome, you don't feel loved, if that's the right word to say. For me, I was deemed low risk, so I wasn't provided the support that other people would. So they would just move me on to the next one. But thankfully for Emmaus, they didn't see me as that. They saw me as someone with great potential to help them grow, which they did. And thanks for bringing Chris along when we needed him. He looks so different now. I was a bit surprised.
You saw me when I first moved in.
Yeah, but I didn't realise how drastic the change was from then to now, which is a good thing, which is a very good thing. With my view on Emmaus, would say for anyone out there homeless, or you know someone who is homeless and they need help, I'm sure that a great place like Emmaus will find help from.
Yeah, and even if we can't help, and we are sometimes not the right place for people. I think we do give structure, we give that sense of purpose. But as both Curtis and Chris have said, that's not for everybody. There are some people who want the freedom, complete freedom in some senses, that flipping rough gives them, and find a nice community slightly claustrophobic. But if we can't help them, we will, if they come to us, we will very much hopefully find something else we can, and find the right place that does fit for us, because other organisations operating in that space with different offerings. Any other questions?
Yeah, thanks, Manuels. First of all, I'll say very impacting film, so congratulations on that. It's really, really, really good. It makes you proud to see that this is a Hertfordshire organisation changing lives. I'm not necessarily a great supporter of particularly one-day thing, but we've got World Homeless Days in October or whatever. Just wanted to understand what's your plans if you have them, and if there are any ambitions of getting this film shown to many, many more people, either on that day or before.
Yeah, absolutely. We want the film to be seen by as many people as possible. And we're embarking on a journey to do that. You know, it's shown in cinemas around the UK. It's been in film festivals internationally and nationally, and we are looking at doing digital copies of it that we're going to have freely available on our website, and trying to do all those other distribution deals. Mikkel is actually in charge of distribution. So I'll let him talk about that. But just one point that we were talking about before, that Curtis and Chris were talking about, the streets are full of people like Chris and Curtis, you know. Everybody on the street is a person first, you know, whether they have a drug addiction or some kind of other problems. So these things are all solvable, can be worked on, you know. So everybody on the street has potential, and everybody deserves a chance and a roof over their head, and we should do what we can to fix that. But in terms of distribution, Mikkel's the man for that.
I'll keep it short, and I'll just give you an example that's a very, very current example, so which ties back to the power of volunteering and so on. My background is in film and TV distribution, but I left that to do this partly. But we had a meeting with a guy yesterday who has just left Universal Studios, and he'd like to do some volunteering in quite a structured way. So he might actually come in and put some hours into that, because he used to do deals with Iversen and Apple and so on and so forth. And we also have the backing of Universal Studios. It's one of our corporate partners. So we're just working our way, but this project has been made on a shoestring. It's incredible that actually Franc's been able to make a film on that budget. And it's the same with the marketing. But we're just moving in different ways. I mean, when Pops was on the radio talking about, we did a VIP event where suddenly a Jagger turns up, and so we've got good friends, and they don't charge, and so we're doing it slightly differently, but yeah, we're doing our best to get it out to a wide audience.
I'm conscious that time is ticking and people have got journeys home. One last question, Chris.
Great film. So three points in there where you've actually caught the people, the character of the individuals. How much do you think that the stereotyping and stigma surrounding homelessness and homeless people?
How much do you think the actual stigma and stereotyping surrounding people is affecting the support either for volunteers coming forward, or financially, or stopping projects happening? Is that an area that should be targeted to actually change people's perceptions of why people are homeless, what their background is, and what was else touched in there, who people can be.
Absolutely, totally, for sure. That's the whole point right there, is that these are people out on the streets, you know. They're not addicts, they're not, you know, you can't label people like that, you know, and it does have a huge impact on how homelessness is dealt with. I mean, you know, we refer to, a lot of people refer to people on the streets as rough sleepers. You know, this is a term that's widely used. Well, you know, people on the street don't like that term. They don't like being called rough. They're not rough. They're people. You know, and yes, it does make a big difference that we need to change perceptions, and I hope we do.
You also talked about something related to, you know, why people have become homeless, and I think one of the issues I have with how the media generally talks about this issue is that it's about stuff, it's about food, it's about sleeping bags, it's about bricks. It's rarely about people. And you think, well, where are the people in this conversation? Where have they come from? I mean, I don't like, it's hard to find a good term, because there's no such thing as a homeless person. Homelessness is a situation, and people have come from some other traumatic avenue to end there, right? It's kind of the end station of all bad things in the world, in a way. And so I think we need to talk about those root causes, for people to see a mirror of themselves. Because if you look at statistics, many people have had quite difficult lives or difficult events, and I mean, that's what we see sometimes with volunteers, that actually they come back and they've met someone who's a mirror of themselves. And so I think there's that bit, you know, where people come from, but also sometimes we talk about homelessness as if it's just like, oh, it's just a station people at, and then we can move them on. But it's traumatizing to be there, right? It's not even traumatizing, it's almost too light a word. I think for our volunteers, it was soul destroying to meet people on the first day who've never been homeless before, and then see them 2 months later lying on the ground and maybe never ever recovering. And so we need to stop talking about people as if they're sort of pieces on a chessboard that, oh, now we build some more houses and we can move them in there. You know, the damage is happening now. And so, yeah, it's vital that we talk about this.
Thank you very much. I've got one final question, and I'm going to give the last word, if it's all right, to Curtis. Curtis, mate, when you stop and look back and realise how far you've come, how does it feel?
Oh, here we go. How I feel. Well, like I said before, I am extremely grateful for what Emmaus has done, for my help to get on with life. And without Emmaus, God knows where I'll be. I would never be Carl, who's sitting in the audience now. You're stuck with me now forever. I would never have met Chris. Very good lad. Sorry, I just paused there. But no, if I could do it all again with Emmaus, I would, 100%. If you gave me the opportunity to be who I am today, which is someone who is finally getting on with his life from past traumas, and just, yeah, I can't put it into words.
He's such a lovely lad. I had a sneaking suspicion you kind of gave the answer that he thought I was hoping he would And actually, Curtis, I'm going to suggest one for you. What you should have said is, I'm really, really proud, because you should be. And we are. Well done. Thank you very much, round of applause for all of our panel players. Guys, stay there for a second. Very quickly, should any of you, by any chance, wish to support us at the end of the evening this evening, there are a couple of ways you can do that. If anybody would like to make a small donation to help cover the costs for tonight, and I'm delighted to say that thanks to the generosity of Rothamsted, they are relatively low, just a few £100. But if anybody would like to contribute towards that, there will be buckets and a card machine on the way out. But that is very optional. Tonight was about awareness raising and getting the key messages across. It's not a fundraiser, it's not a big bucket shaker. If you'd like to do something a bit more practical later on in the year, however, then on November the 8th, you could support us and fundraise for us a bit by taking part in the annual sleep out at Oaklands College. What could be better than your own chance to sleep rough for a night, knowing actually, unusually, that you would be able to decamp to a comfy bed and a warm bath at the end of your night of rough sleep. If you're interested in that, supporting us with that, please leave your details with anybody from the Emmaus Hertfordshire team, and we will be back in touch. And before and during the event, I promise we will look after you and make it as, without wishing to make life sleeping rough, make it as enjoyable an event as possible. And finally, it just remains for me to say thanks again to all of you for being such an attentive audience tonight, for all your questions, and for your ongoing support. Hope you all have a safe journey home, and we look forward to continuing to work with you in the future. Thank you very much.